Let's now take a look at the secondary fracture levels of the RBD material fracture node. So I will go back to the primary fracture tab. And if you remember, I previously deleted a fracture level 2 tab that's there by default. So to create it again, I will click on this plus icon. And we will have now a fracture 2 level. So I will click on the tab here just to see its parameters. And for now, I will turn off the edge detail and the interior detail options just to make this faster. And I will go back to my primary fracture tab, make sure we're on level 2. So the parameters in level 2 will be exactly the same that in level 1. The main difference is that level 2 will be applied recursively on the pieces that were generated in level 1. So what does it mean? Let me reduce the fracture ratio, say to 0.2, and zoom out a bit. And you will notice for now, this looks very similar to what we had with only one level. So if I increase the ratio a bit, say to 0.6, you will notice now that some of the cells that were generated previously are now being broken again into several more pieces. And this is dependent on the scatter points value that we have here. So let me reduce this to 3 points. And now each one of these cells that were broken again have 3 pieces instead of just one. So let's increase this to 10, for example. And now we will have more detail. So let's try now increasing the fracture ratio to 0.9 again. And now only some of the large pieces will be left unbroken. So this secondary or even tertiary fracture levels can help us add detail and to break the uneven sized pieces that usually give away the Voronoi look. Now, a very important thing that you must keep in mind is that the RBD material fracture node is generating some groups for the geometry. So let me connect a blast node just below my exploded view. And if you go to the group area, you will notice that besides the pieces that have been generated, we have an inside group, which are only the inside faces that were created. Let me click on the delete non-selected. So these are the inside faces that were created for the Voronoi cells. We have also an outside group, which are our original faces. And beside those groups, we have a concrete fracture inside that were the first pieces that were created. And also a fracture 2 inside group. And these are the fracture level 2 pieces that were created. So these groups will become very important when we start creating our destruction. Probably we will use some of these groups to generate particles or probably to generate some volumes and increase the detail on our destruction. So I will delete the blast node. And I want to show you one last feature that will be very important also when generating RBD simulations. And it is this second output of the node. So I will connect the node to the second output. And you will notice we have a few connections, and these connections are constraints that can be used further down the line to create our destruction. And although we won't be touching on constraint on these tutorials, we will be looking into constraints in detail in future tutorials. So just for you to know, remember that this second output and the second input of the node is used to generate these constraints.